Now beginning transmission 143. Lumberjanes. File under girls who kick ass.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't start some shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast.
面白い本と歌手ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions. They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit. Here is a drinking game to play while you listen to this episode. Please drink responsibly, and don't take it too seriously. And if you don't like it, blame William.
Take a drink anytime Mr. Porg decides to interject himself into the conversation. Shut up, Porg.
You need to take a drink anytime Manny Bothhands makes an appearance, and I get groans and fuck yous from Adam and Maya.
Fuck Manny Bothhands!
Manny Bothhand is pure genius.
Take a drink anytime someone refers to me as the cum dumpster.
Take a drink every time the Shame Bell makes an appearance.
Also, take a drink anytime we act like the Member Berries from South Park. Remember when they were on South Park?
I remember.
Yeah, and take a drink every time we do the bad German accent, yeah.
Ah, drink, fucker!
If you have any suggestions for rules you would like to add, email us at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com or use the contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com.
They see like, things about me and like what I'm good at, and I always put on there that I'm, panelist on one of the most popular comic book podcasts in Utah. And they're like, oh,
Sure.
what's your podcast? So I got actually a couple extra listeners that way.
Nice.
But they're like, Funny Books and Firewater, that's kind of interesting. Like, yeah, we've been doing it for almost like over 3 years now, and like we just realized we probably should have gone with comics and tonics, and everyone's like, do it. Fucking rebrand. So I know it's too late in the game, but they're like,
It's never too late.
It's like, that's a great name, you should do that. So we haven't all met since I've done
Hey, we need to add a colon and have comics and tonics underneath Funny Books and Firewater.
Or a subtitle of some kind.
Subtitle.
That would work, because then if you search for comics, it would still pop up.
But we could do a semicolon just so it's wrong.
Anyway, welcome to episode 143. I don't know how much of that left in, but to be honest with you, I've been trying to wrangle these cats for about 20 minutes now.
Oh, that's
You haven't been trying to wrangle us.
Oh, come on.
Your computer doesn't work. Your network is having issues.
Yeah, but I logged back on, and then finally it was like they kept going on and on. I'm like, okay, we can go now.
We were
Okay,
just
we can
waiting
go
on
now.
you to come back. I didn't know you were.
I wasn't on the Zencaster page looking at it. I'm actually looking at it, just trying to find this on Google if I Google comic book podcast.
Anyway, so this is episode 143 of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. This month we are doing comics of girls who kick ass.
Yes.
In honor of Todd's little one. Todd has returned. Hi, Todd.
Hey, guys. My wife let me out.
Yay! We're doing Lumberjanes, which is about a group of really kick-ass Girl Scout-ish characters. They are Lumberjanes, not Girl Scouts, for various reasons, including probably copyright infringement. But we have a full collection with us today. We will start out with the reason for half of the reason for maybe a third of the reason for this month's books. We have Mr. Todd.
Hi, I'm Todd. You can find me here as a co-panelist on the Funny Books and Firewater, soon to have a semicolon, comics and tonics.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll figure it out.
We'll see that. I also do a few other podcasts we need to get going again on, so we'll talk about that more when that happens. So
Yeah.
I'm a recent dad for the first time at a nice ripe age of 37 3/4.
You look like you haven't slept in about 3 months.
Thank you. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but no, really, it's...
Honey, you look tired. You should smile more.
Oh, I got told that by my banker one time and I almost punched him.
Yes. So, but here I am having fun with the guys, the peoples, the groups. The peoples, right? So,
Yeah, the peoples.
The peoples. So,
Yeah.
yep. All right.
So we also have the German accent that's better or worse than mine. I'll let you decide. We have Mr. Adam.
Yeah, it's Mr. Adam.
Oh, yeah. CDA it is.
Hey, everyone, what's up? This is Adam with Big Shiny Robot. Also occasionally doing stuff with over at the Bored as Hell podcast with Andy Wilson.
Hi.
And also you can find us over at Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hi, Chris.
I'm not saying hi to Chris.
No.
No.
Because you're homophobic.
Yep,
What?
that's it.
Yeah, at least we're not Cinema Queens.
And actually, as we record this, we're behind one episode because he had strep throat over the weekend. So he's still kind of getting better from that.
I should have walked it off.
Tough it through. Come on, Chris.
I told him not to swallow next time, but he didn't listen.
That's his problem. Prerogative.
And actually, as we record this, just last Sunday, I'm a member of the Utah Film Critic Association, and we meet every single year to give out awards. And I helped convince everyone to give Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Best Picture.
Nice.
Which Sony was super grateful for that.
Yeah, Sony
They almost immediately tweeted you back, like retweeted it.
Yeah, they tweeted thank you the UFCA and the big things, and a big put thing saying Spider-Man is Best Picture of the Year. And then the fun thing is, right after that, like Collider and some other sources picked it up, and they're like, because we're known for always doing at least one award that's really wonky. Like what? Like we gave Andy Serkis Best Actor for War of the Planet of the Apes.
He fucking deserved it.
He did deserve it. Yeah,
It was great.
So that was the award that kind of surprised people. But then they're picking it up now, being like, well, maybe this will get like the attention of like the Academy and could just portend a possible Best Picture nomination for this. So if that happens, we're claiming credit for that shit because we started it.
Yes.
But then aside from that, I'm always out there curating our Grinder Scruff and Tights with the Z account.
Also in Utah, finishing up that trio, we have Mr. Maya.
Hey, I'm Maya. You can catch me on Twitter at Mr. Maya. That's MRMIAH. Or Instagram at the Mr. Maya. Or you can follow my cat on either at It's the Jonesy.
Awesome. And returning to join us when he's not busy writing, he actually gets to talk to us. We have Mr. Jason.
Hi. As Brian says, I am an unemployed writer in Los Angeles, which just means I have a lot of free time. Yeah.
This means you're a writer in Los Angeles, that's all.
Exactly. And you can find me in real life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
In the moment.
In the moment.
Yes.
Oh,
What I
how
do hear,
hipster of
though,
you.
when I hear writer instead of actor, my brain goes, well, he's not waiting tables.
It's true.
No, I've already done that, though.
Yeah. I really do believe everyone should wait tables for about a year. It makes everyone a better person.
Agree. Yes.
I tried doing that as one of my first jobs. I did apply to many places, and they wanted someone with experience. So
you didn't show enough cleavage.
We want people that have experience doing this to do this entry level that we had listed at entry level.
Well, my favorite thing is like on the technology side of things, as new technologies come out, you can definitely see people that don't know what they're talking about. It's like, so this new language like Swift for Apple came out, and there was listing says needs 3 years experience with Swift programming. I'm like, the thing's 6 months old.
Yeah. Does not exist.
Does not exist. You're asking for people that don't exist.
Also, since we just introduced Jason, I want to say hi to Elena because she's actually reading all the books this month. So hi, Elena.
Hey, Elena.
Hi, Elena.
I'm sorry, but awesome.
Yeah, no, because of Jason, she started listening to the show, and then because we're doing all books of Girls That Kick Ass, she actually is reading all the books, so I've been texting her, telling her which books to actually read, so she's actually listening and reading along with us, as you can at home as well. I don't know how many people actually do or not, but, hopefully you do. We have some good books this week. And hey, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based out of Southern California. As of recording this today, I have now signed my contract, so now you get to hear about me doing shows in Logan for the next couple months. How great is that? I'm doing 3 shows. They're doing 6. I'm doing 3. One show, I saw it as way more work than I could adequately do from out here in California. So I am not going to do it.
That's a very General Mattis approach and wording.
I will have to re-edit that a little bit so I don't say the one thing I said before. Future Brian.
Thank you, Future Brian, for keeping present Brian employed.
Yes, it's true. So I'm going to be doing Raisin in the Sun, Claiborne Park, and Murder for Two. And then they're also doing Mamma Mia, The Great Society as a staged reading, and a one-man show called Size Matters. So yeah, they're doing 6 shows in 3 different venues. I'm only working in 2 of the different venues. That's part of the reason why I'm not doing one of the other shows. And that is it.
Book intro.
So this week's book is called Lumberjanes. This is a book that is pretty all ages, to be quite honest with you. And I mean, would everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Completely.
Yeah, and it's a fun, silly kind of romp of a group of Girl Scouts type characters who happen to have lots of weird encounters with strange, mythological, and bizarre creatures out in the woods, all while ditching their camp counselor and driving her slowly insane as they run away. Does that seem like a fair intro to everybody?
For me, as I was reading this, going through to like people like, how do I describe this or whatnot? It's a little bit like Phineas and Ferb meets young Indiana Jones.
Very much so, yeah. I would totally agree with that. That's a really good description, actually. I like that. And kind of a similar sense of humor to Phineas and Ferb, too, I would say. I think that's pretty accurate.
Myification.
So, Mr. Todd, what would you call the myification of this?
It's girls rock at a young age. I mean, and parents want to pay to not raise them.
Okay. I like it.
I mean, it's cool. So here in Utah and Western society, I see all these movies like Addams Family Values, and everything is where these summer camps where kids go for all summer, and like the parents write letters or see them, and I'm like, I don't know any kids in our culture that really did this sort of thing that just seems so heavily prevalent on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's sort of like the myth of like what prom is like. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anybody who actually rented a limo for prom.
Right, or you see like these high school parties that have like, I don't know, like that. She's all that, all these different parties. And I'm like, it's not that they don't exist. It's just I'm not where I'm from.
Well, yeah, it's like, that's the thing is I never know if that's because I grew up in Utah or because I wasn't popular, but I never was at a party that was like that.
Ever, at all.
Well, as someone who actually grew up on the East Coast, I can tell you I actually did go to a camp for a little bit during the summer. It was one of the Triple C camps that I think FDR started as part of the New Deal.
And how long were you there?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But yeah, my parents put me on a bus, and then the bus went to campground with a bunch of other kids, and we all had our own little cabin and our own sort of group leader, and there were activities and things to do during the day, and at night you just ate in the mess hall and went to bed and rinse, recycle, repeat.
Was this a great experience? And or...
It was actually really fun. I can remember very vividly our cabin putting on a big show of the Beach Boys Surfing USA for everyone. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, it's good.
Was it co-ed or was it all boys? Or?
It was co-ed, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I also went to one actually in Oregon as well. That was also co-ed.
Was there any summer romances for young Jason?
Yes, in the Oregon one, I had a huge crush on one of the camp counselors. She gave me a penny at the end of the trip, so it got pretty serious.
That's fantastic.
A penny? She gave you a penny?
A penny. Yes. It sort of ties into a camp song that I do not remember, unfortunately, but you give a penny with the heads up, then it means something pretty, special.
Wow.
Yeah.
An older woman, Jason. Wow.
Couldn't help myself.
I'm pretty impressed, man. You got game even at a young age. Yeah. It's impressive.
Look what happened to me now.
Yes.
I have an older woman once, and only once.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay.
Really? Mm-hmm. This is like a campfire where we're telling stories.
By y'all here in a minute.
I wish I had s'mores. You can make the drink for this book I made.
I know, right? That looks really tasty. Okay, well, speaking of Jason's game, we're going to jump into our drinking game rules.
Drinking game.
Jason, why don't you lead us off?
All right. Mine is called The Lady References. So if you actually read the Lumberjanes books, you'll see that the writer actually mentions a lot of historical women who either done really incredible things or wrote a book about it, or one of the two. And so whenever she mentions someone historical, take a drink.
Cool. That actually kind of ties into, I believe that's Adams is sort of similar.
Yeah, so my drink is called Oh My Heck. And basically it's when every character is swearing, but they use a different word than the swear word. It's more kid-friendly.
Nice. And sometimes they use the names that Jason is saying.
Yeah. So. Yes.
Mine is called Where's Jen, which is every time they ditch Jen, take a drink. And then, Mr. Todd, what is yours?
Mine is the the title of it, I'll come to me again in a moment, but every time you see the camp counselor with tattoos kind of a thing, and like, this is the like sage advice, like tell me what's going on, but the cool person, you need to take a drink, because that would just be odd to me growing up. It's cool that it's being introduced at such a young age.
What you sent me the name was camp counselor / role model,
tattoo role model. Yeah, there you go, the tattooed role model.
And Mr. Maya,
mine's called badges. We don't need no stinking badges. Anytime the word badge appears, take a drink.
And it's not spoiling anything because it's in a future issue, but there is a great issue, probably in the trade paperback 3, where they actually sit down and try to give boring badges, and they lose their minds because they're terrible at it, like scrapbooking, like they're awful at it, like they can't do anything normal, which is kind of fun and endearing about this.
Validity votes.
Well, then let's jump into votes as to whether or not we believe that it is worth you, our dear listeners, hard-earned time, money, and effort to hunt this book down and give it a read. We will start with Mr. Adam.
Yes.
Mr. Maya.
Yes.
Mr. Jason.
100% yes.
Mr. Todd.
Uh-huh.
And I'm also a yes. I also recommended this. I'm hoping this starts to make up for Deadpool. I don't know if it's going to or not. I'm trying. Someone else needs to recommend something shitty.
Never forget.
That's the next t-shirt we'll make. It will be Deadpool Max. Never forget.
Playlist.
To enhance our reading of this book, we need some music for our playlist. I will start. Mine I came up with sort of like a playlist. It's not necessarily directly related, but sort of like something you put on for a camping trip. So I have Give a Little Bit by Supertramp. I'll jump to Mr. Jason.
Mine is actually an Irish folk song that I heard just this past week for the first time, called Bog Down in the Valley, otherwise known as Rattling Bog.
Oh, okay. Adam, you ready to go?
Yeah, so mine is The Ghost on the Shore by Lord Huron.
Mr. Todd.
Wannabe by the Spice Girls.
Which cracks me up. That's a good one. And Mr. Maya.
Mine is We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister.
Also a very good one.
Nice.
Did I tell you guys on the show about me being accused of playing satanic music?
Yes.
I heard about that. Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Yeah, so anyway, some Twisted Sister followed that up to make my life better.
Final warnings.
Cool. Do we have any final warnings for people before they jump in and read this book?
If you have issues with words that sub for curse words, this is not the book for you.
If you want to hear the swear words, damn it.
That's right. Gosh and darn and heck does not float the boat. I would steer clear.
This might be the cleanest book we've ever done on this show.
It really is.
Yeah.
Might be, yeah.
Still enjoyable, but probably just the cleanest book that we've ever done on this show. So, well, cool. Then we will take a brief break for you at home to go ahead and go give this a read. It's a quick, short book. We're only reading the first 4 issues. I have the Friendship to the Max edition, which has basically the first 2 trades worth. Because I have started taking on Todd's mantle and buying big things in hardcover when I like them, because I figure I'm going to read all of them anyway. So might as well start aiming towards the omnibuses to try to decrease on the size of the amount of books that I have on my bookshelf.
Good luck.
Oh my gosh, I'm like literally at a point where I'm running out of space. It's going to be an issue. I mean, I can probably put more stuff in there, but I have to like find another place for all the weird little knickknacks that I've dispersed between everything.
Declutter your life. Get rid of the knickknacks. All paper.
All paper.
All paper.
All fire hazard.
Just a little tinderbox right in my apartment.
Well, see, in my room, it's all paper and accelerant. So yeah, it's the comic books and the booze is what's stored in there. So
yeah, there you go. We are a walking fire hazard.
Yes.
Funny books and fire water. A walking fire hazard.
At least it's not Cinema Queens.
No response from Adam. He's
I was showing me something, so but I heard that in your both pitches.
Every day.
That's
good. I did get a burn for Adam this past week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember my comment on your Facebook post, like, look at all the movies that I've seen on this list.
Oh, yeah.
And I commented.
That was my first thought, too. I just didn't post it.
I says, yes, but have you seen Godfather yet? Nope.
No, so it's a list of like 180
like
some movies.
Like 250 movies.
250 movies, and you're supposed to go through and you copy and paste it and put like a little thumbs up or whatever next to movies you've seen. And I think I ended up with like 250 or something like that.
Godfather wasn't even on the list, but he's like, look at everything I've seen. I'm so awesome. And I'm like, but you haven't seen Godfather yet.
We haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse.
No, but
I'm going tomorrow.
That movie's like a week old.
It is the best movie of the year.
I've seen it 3 times.
Wow.
I've seen it 3 times.
And you've yet to see Godfather.
I know, because this movie's only 2 hours long and Godfather's like 3.5.
but it's amazing.
You can watch it in chunks.
Yeah,
and it's on Netflix too now.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. The whole Godfather trilogy is on Netflix.
No, I know it on the Blu-ray. I didn't know it was on Netflix.
Yeah,
it's on
now,
Netflix
the second
right
one
now.
is also amazing, but that one's like 9 hours all by itself.
And I hear you just ignore the third one.
It's not as good. There's good parts about it. Just ignore the Coppola portion, and it's better.
Have you watched The Sopranos count at all?
You know, there's so much Godfather in The Sopranos of The Sopranos watching The Godfather. It really doesn't. But yeah. All right, go on.
Okay,
Go
anyway.
read the book.
So we're going to go read the book. We'll see you guys back on the flip side.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Hi, we're Rebecca and Charity. We get together every once in a while to talk about food and our mental health journeys.
Join us on Spoonful of Podcast as we discuss such compelling subjects as
cinnamon rolls,
depression, European Twinkies,
ADHD,
what's a kolashi,
and more. Tune in every 2 weeks to follow along with the tasty podcast for the healthily mental.
Subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts to hear us every other week.
A proud member of the Hello Sweetie Podcast Network.
Cool. You want me to do summary, or somebody else want to do summary? Okay.
Silence speaks volumes.
So the reason why I'm not doing it is because one of the problems I have with this book, Maya will actually explain because we had the same problem. So I'll let him bring it up.
Okay.
Plot summary.
I'm going to do this really briefly. Basically, in each one of these issues, they encounter some sort of creepy demon. The first one is these three-eyed wolves that they attack, and then they eventually end up defeating by help of the mystical bear woman, who in later issues, not in what we're going to read this week, we'll eventually find out who it is. They think they're going to be in trouble. They go back to the camp counselor, who has all sorts of tattoos, who runs the place, and she's basically like, nope, you're cool. And that sort of leads you into the beginning of Lumberjanes. Anything pivotal I missed out of that for chapter 1? I'm trying to go real brief.
Good.
Okay, second one is they're out on a river rafting trip, and then they encounter basically a sea serpent in the middle of the river monster, and they sort of fight. They think that one of them is dead. They end up saving her and rescuing her by doing a karate kick to the stomach, and they save her life. And later they go camping, and they get their chocolate stolen by an eagle with 3 eyes. And they end up sort of stumbling down and finding at the end of it a hidden little underground tunnel with all sorts of statues of Greek mythology. Then in our third issue, they're downstairs or down in this thing. They keep finding stuff, and they have something that says "Beware the Kitten Holy." They don't exactly know what that is, but they're going to keep looking through it. The statues start talking to them, warning them, and then eventually try to attack them. They end up defeating them by throwing one of the little ones, who's my favorite, who's a character named Ripley, as a fastball special. And she helps beat them up. She kicks them, and they run away. And then they end up in an Indiana Jones sort of trap where they have to run across different numbers of things. They get through all the prime numbers, and then they have to decode secret things, and it drops down a ladder, and they are about to escape. And then in chapter 4, they're out back in the woods, and they're with Jen, and then they encounter a Yeti, abominable snowman type character, and they run into a camp for boys, but the boys turn out to be sort of zombified, as well as they have to go back and fight a whole batch of the what are they called? They're hipster Yetis, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yep, that is.
Yeah. They have to fight the hipster Yetis, and then at the end of that, they're escaping from all of the Boy Scouts. But they said, they're not Boy Scouts; they're something lads, but they're lumber lads or something to that effect. But you see that there is somebody who is basically controlling all the lumber lads at the very end with some sort of Eye of Ra kind of thing, and that's the basic gist of everything that's in this book. Did I miss anything pivotal?
No, that's pretty good.
It's a
okay.
Pretty.
Our summaries are always very long. I'm trying to trim them down.
I appreciate that.
Believe me, from editing them, I appreciate it as well.
Analysis.
So, Adam, you said you had some issues with this book. What do you want to go with?
Well, I'll let Mike talk about it because he's the one who kind of mentioned it to me, so I don't want to steal his thunder.
Okay.
I really like this. I mean, I didn't know anything about it going in, but it was kind of fun because as much as we mentioned earlier, it was kind of like a Phineas and Ferb look. Uh-huh. My drinking game rule I almost went with was sugar and spice and everything nice, where every time it looked like it was a scene from Powerpuff Girls, you take a drink.
Okay.
Because it has a really like friendly Cartoon Network kid vibe. And what's really fun about this is, you know, I'm sure people listening to this podcast have kids and they're trying to get them into comic books. And to be honest, even, you know, the safe for work ones that we read may not be as always appealing to kids. Whereas this one, especially for younger girls, like, you know, ages, you know, 6 to 15, that's kind of, I'd say, maybe 8 to 15 would be like the prime market for it. This could be a great thing to show them, like, hey, the comic books are for girls. This is something you can enjoy. And it's a lot of fun. And I think that's really cool that we've got, you know, something that can appeal to all audiences, and even adults can still have fun with it. It's kind of like Rocky and Bullwinkle or those shows where there's the jokes for adults and the jokes for kids. This one didn't really have that because it was pretty much just, you know, jokes for kids or like a cool atmosphere. But at the same time, it wasn't pandering, and it was still had enough in there that I think everyone of all ages can enjoy, despite the kind of the one grumble I have about it, which I'll let Maya bring up after he gives kind of his thoughts.
Okay. Well, then, Maya, let's lead into that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. I knew of Lumberjanes. I'd never read it before. I didn't I knew it had to deal with, you know, a group of girls in camp or kind of Girl Scout type vibe. But I never really knew it was about them, like, encountering monsters and all this fun stuff and kind of the wacky adventures they're on. My one complaint, and once I mentioned it to Adam, he's like, yeah, I agree, is that, to me, visually, I love the characters, but I didn't really detect any distinct personalities, nor did I get the, like, I don't remember which one is which. I don't remember names. It's kind of like the problem some people have with Game of Thrones. Like, I know what the characters look like, but I couldn't tell you what their names are. I couldn't tell you which one is which, and I don't know if that's just me or...
We've got Brother Fucker and Sister Fucker.
Dragon titties.
Dragon titties. Drunk Dwarf, yeah. But, yeah, no, that was just kind of my one complaint is it didn't really... excuse me. They didn't really do anything enough to make it stick with me. Like, this is this character, this is this character, this is this character. To me, I just kind of thought they kind of felt like one big character.
I don't think you're wrong on that. I think I've read up through the equivalent of Trade 4. Like I said, I've been reading them in these hardcovers, so it's sort of 2 trades together. That becomes more prevalent later on. And what they've sort of established is, like, this overall, like, why are these monsters in there? They seem to go with, like, an 8-issue arc is what they end up doing. So basically 2 trades ends up becoming kind of one storyline arc. And so I kind of thought about maybe trying to do the first 2 trades, but opted just to go for the 4 because I think they stand alone on themselves. But, like, definitely in the, like, volumes 3 and 4, it definitely there starts to separate out, like, personalities, and you start to get a general idea of their traits and that kind of stuff. But I think you're right. In these original ones, it is sort of like the only one that stands up to me is Ripley, because she's kind of the crazy little one who they, you know, is just sort of nuts and kind of fun, and that's sort of part of the reason why I really like that character. But no, I think you're right. Mr. Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like the others, I really, really love this book. I can definitely see where it's difficult to differentiate between some of the characters because they do have a lot of that very vibrant, spunky personality to them that just sort of bleeds from one to the next. Ripley is definitely the one that stands out among the most. She feels a lot like the dog Doug from Up. Really lovable, but super easily distracted. And I think that's just really delightful. And then... and the dialogue between all of them feels very natural and very easy to say aloud, which is often hard for comic book dialogue. And it's just it's really sort of naturally pleonastic and expressive.
Pleonastic. Now for the layman dumb guy. Help me out here.
Yeah, because I was about to sit there and say hi for a moron who doesn't know what pleonastic means.
Using more words are necessary for either emphasis or style. So when someone says something like, I saw with my own eyes, that's being pleonastic.
So Walter Goggins for example, and Justified.
And Brian Michael Bendis and a lot of his stuff.
I was going to say Bendis, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely that. Yeah, but like when April, the one with the red hair, is talking to Rosie, the main camp counselor with the tattoos, and she could have just said, we saw this weird old lady outside the cabin, but instead she says, so we were in our bunks just like we were supposed to be, right? And we heard a rumble and a whoosh, and then we saw, well, Joe and I saw this super weird old lady outside the cabin. It's a much more expressive way to say something that just gives a little bit more character, I thought. Yeah, and then I also don't know another comic book that teaches you about the Fibonacci sequence, so I think that's cool.
That's true.
That's one of my favorite things in the world, so I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, well, and,
Also-
Todd originally was going to name his daughter after Fibonacci.
Dude, so I did this gag online, Jason. You would love this.
Yeah.
So I got the nurses in on this with me, and they thought it was great. So I take this photo of my first newborn child, and there is a placeholder name up there because I hadn't decided on one yet. Now, my last name is 10 letters long and a mouthful. And so I'm like...
So is Todd.
So is Todd. And I'm like, I'm just going to have a placeholder name, but it's going to be so ridiculous. But it's baby is boring. So I'm going to have an absolutely ridiculous name, and people will know, oh, Todd's just being funny. So I go with Fibonacci Shakespeare.
Oh, God, yes.
And I would say, there was probably about 30% of the people responding back going, well, I can get used to that name. Yeah, that sounds all right.
We'll call her Phoebe, right?
We'll call her Phoebe. My father-in-law, hook, line, and sinker. Absolutely convinced this is what I had done. And my wife, bless her heart, just played along because I've got this new kid with black hair that came out. And the moment I left the room and he was there, he goes to my wife and he's like, is this really what you're naming the kid? I'm like, are you going to let Todd do this? She's like, well, we had a deal. If she comes out blonde, I get to name her. And if she comes out black hair, Todd gets to name her. And she came out with raven hair. What other choice do I have? So we let this go for more than a day. And then he's like, all right, with the Facebook algorithms and whatnot, everyone saw the first one because I haven't posted in like 5 years. It says the second one, not so much. So I actually posted her real name. But yeah, some people are convinced. And if anyone ever asks me straight up, like, is that really her name? I'm like, no, it's a placeholder name. Most people don't ask. They're like, well, okay.
A little too polite.
A little too.
I got a lot of text messages asking.
That's great, though.
People
There are a lot
ask
of people
other
like, "Did Todd really do
people,
that?"
but no one would actually have the cojones to ask me.
You know what? I would have been there because I would have walked up and been like, is that really her name? And like, that's fucking amazing. And high-fived you.
See, I tried some people to spell Fibonacci as the numerical sequence and just say it's pronounced Fibonacci.
Oh my God.
Like Absidy.
So like Absida, right? I was really, I almost did it, but I'm like, no, I'll just do this Fibonacci thing. And everyone's like, okay. So yeah, but Fibonacci's great. And Phoebe was actually her womb name. How's that? So with the joke long enough, I just called her Phoebe while she was still inside Mama.
Yeah, that's great.
Is, but with Lumberjanes, it's the kids are all spunkly. Ripley, of course, is the standout character. What I also like with Ripley, and its side shot is Ripley is the name and alien of the main character.
Yeah,
and it's if people are there any other Ripleys that you're aware of?
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Ripley's Believe It or Not. So there's that as well. So all of the association I have with Ripley goes to believe that it's someone with gumption and a bit of the fantastic going on there. And so just even picking that name kind of assigns all of that to this character. And I thought that was a great and brilliant move because this book is just oozing with charm as much as anything else. I read this thing and I'm like, I need to give this to my tween niece because she'll absolutely love this thing and it'd be great. So yeah.
Well, and you'll appreciate too in a later book, I think it's in the next trade, so trade 2, they encounter some dinosaurs and Ripley starts writing one and she names it Jonesy.
Yes.
There's no mistake of that call out of that name. It's like they knew exactly what they were doing.
Jason, did you have anything else? I felt like we cut you off just a little bit.
No, that was it. I just want to make sure that we'd never forget about the Pungeon Master badge. That was one of my favorite things ever.
The badge names are pretty awesome, I will say.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Then we want to jump into cocktails?
Sure.
Cocktails.
Mr. Todd, what's your cocktail?
I'm calling mine the Red Right Hand because, camping and whatnot, you always hear that scary story to tell in the dark kind of a deal. So that's going right here. But really, what it is, it's a play on the classic cherry fizz. So what it is, it's got 2 ounces of a cherry liqueur or cherry brandy, half ounce of lemon juice, and then some carbonated water. So what you do is you fill a cocktail shaker with ice, you pour in the lemon juice and the brandy, and shake the shit out of it, or you shake the crap out of it, in this case. The poop out of it. And then you put 2 cubes into a highball glass, strain it into there, and then you top off the rest of the way of the glass with some just carbonated water. And enjoy. You garnish it with a cherry on top as well. So it's just a nice, fun, kid-centric, with a boozy kid-centric drink to have while camping. Because why not?
Bring your kids.
Bring your kids.
Bring your kids. Bring your kids. Get them drunk. Okay, well, speaking of bringing your kids, get your drunk, mine is a bourbon root beer float, ice cream float.
Nice.
So yeah, you need 1 bottle of your favorite bourbon, 1 pint of your favorite vanilla ice cream, and 12 bottles of your favorite artisan root beer. You're going to make, for individual drinks, you're going to pour 2 ounces of bourbon. You're going to add 2 small scoops of vanilla ice cream and 3/4 of a bottle of root beer. Don't shake it up, obviously.
Shake it up.
But Mr. Adam, I have been craving your drink ever since you sent it to me. So do you want to go next?
Yeah, because I'm off sugar too. Although
I crave Adam's drink every day.
You're not Clark.
Yeah, you do.
I said I crave it. I don't get it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't actually break my sugar rule because I made Qiunzella yesterday, and I had to try one, and they're amazing. But they're all just buttered sugar, so they're horrible for you. Yeah, so mine is the
delicious.
Horribly delicious, yes. The toasted s'more martini. So you take a chilled martini glass, you dip it, the rim in chocolate, and then dip that in crushed up graham cracker crumbs. You add 1 ounce of Godiva chocolate liqueur. Then in a separate glass, you mix a half ounce of whipping cream along with a half ounce of marshmallow vodka, which I guess is the thing. You take that, you stir it together, and then over the back of a spoon, you slowly pour the vodka mixture on top of the chocolate liqueur. And then you take a little bamboo stick and a marshmallow, and you toast it, and you garnish with the toasted marshmallow.
For reference, I have seen toasted marshmallow vodka before. I used it for, what was it? I used it for something. I had a recipe for something. I think it might have been the recipe I had for butterbeer, or an alcoholic butterbeer. It had a bunch of flavored vodkas in it.
Interesting.
But yeah. So, cool. Mr. Maya, what is your cocktail?
Mine, even though they're at camp, still kind of gave me like a Girl Scouts type vibe. So mine is the Thin Mint Martini.
Nice.
1 teaspoon of chocolate syrup, 1 fluid ounce of peppermint schnapps, 2 ounces of chocolate liqueur, 2 ounces of half and half. Drizzle the chocolate syrup around the inside edge of a martini glass, then place the glass in a freezer. Then fill a cocktail shaker with ice, pour the schnapps, chocolate liqueur, and cream into the shaker. Cover it and shake it, and strain it into the martini glass.
And not last but not least, Mr. Jason.
To go along with my drinking rule of the lady references, it is a cocktail called the Mary Pickford, named after the famous actress and producer who pretty much helped start Hollywood. So it's a 1.5 ounces of white rum, 1.5 ounces of pill juice, a teaspoon of grenadine, and then if you've got it, 6 drops of maraschino liqueur. If not, just add some cherries and some more rum to taste.
So the grenadine just reminded me of something I noticed on The Office the other day. There's a point in time where Michael is at a bar and the bartender asks what's his drink, and he said grenadine. And I knew I never noticed it before. And I caught that, I was like, oh, holy shit.
Oh, man.
I want to see someone drink that. That's almost
God,
like that or Angostura bitters.
Bring me some.
I just want a glass of bitters.
Bring me some.
I've taste tested bitters with a little bit of water, but I've never drank bitters.
Yeah, just have a shot of bitters. That would just, oh my God.
You bring it, I'll drink it.
Yeah.
Are you sure? I'm not sure. You're
I'm not saying I'll keep it down. But you bring it, I'll drink it.
I still have some of that hot sauce at my house that we didn't get to.
You can
the Pepper X
eat my asshole once it's on fire after that.
Oh yeah, it was bad the next day.
See, I don't know what it was, but I don't know if I just, all of my neurons had been fired, because that last one didn't get me very much, but I also went and got a milkshake to try to cool my mouth off from the Mad Dog, and that might have just coated my mouth enough that I did not have a problem with it. But I haven't been brave enough to try it again. You know what I mean?
I will say it tastes good.
Yeah.
So it's a really enjoyable taste, and it's a heat, and it's not I could be wrong. It's not a heat that, it's like a sharping fork to the eye piercing pain, but it does build up and it's very strong. It's more like a boulder slowly crushing you than the fork to the eye.
Well, and Adam, you said you still wanted the Mad Dog, which I was kind of surprised
Well, yeah,
by.
exactly. It has a really great flavor, and what I actually do want to do is I want to try putting it in things.
Okay, well, I will bring you the bottle. You can fucking have it.
Parting thoughts.
Do we have any parting thoughts with this before we get into grades?
It's it really is for everybody. I'm just trying to think, who would you rule out? I mean, of course, like
incels.
Incels might be upset about this one, but incels have nieces.
I mean, okay, I will, as a spoiler in future episodes, if you're going to get into the series, the one thing I would warn is if you have an issue with not wanting to explain same-sex couples to your children, which I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast and have an issue with that.
Horrible person too, so.
Yes, but a couple of the girls end up kind of having a flirtatious dating relationship sort of thing. It's obviously not explicit based by this book, but they do go out for like a picnic date one time. You know what I mean? That kind
and
of thing.
And it's hinted in these first 4 issues.
It is hinted in these first 4 issues as well. That's the only possible thing I could see anybody having a potential issue with. And I only bring that up because I have religious family members, but I sort of said, fuck it, this is a great book, you're going to get it anyway. So I gave it as a Christmas present. And
you know what the thing of it is for a lot of people that would hate that, they would miss it.
Probably true. Probably very true. But it's a little more explicit like in Trade 3. So
all right.
That's my only thing is like if you're
But again, also if you're the type of person who doesn't want to explain to your kids that same-sex couples exist, fuck you, you're a bad parent, burn in hell.
Well, and I just, I don't personally think there's anybody who listens to this show who would have an issue with that, to be honest, but
if there were, they stopped listening a long time.
They stopped listening to the Dumpster episode.
Yeah,
there we are.
Which one?
The initial one.
Anyway,
it was February of last year. Of this year.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm. So it was a couple months ago. I was like, when I was driving, I was going back to somewhere like just spot checking episodes because to see what I can do better and stuff. But I found that one and I was like, oh my god, because we made the musical.
Oh, that's right.
Had songs from Cats in it.
Oh, that's right. The musical. I forgot about that.
That is.
We need to find ourselves a producer and a venue. I think we can make this happen.
I hear the Eccles has openings.
Oh, do they?
No.
We just wish.
So.
Final grades.
Cool. Well, then let's jump into final grades. We'll do the first one is self-contained.
Self-contained.
This is an ongoing series, but how did you guys feel that this first trade was self-contained in its own little thing? We'll start with Mr. Adam.
I'll go with an A because what was fun with this is that you did kind of finish the story. There was interesting things happening that tied all the issues together, and then at the end there was still like, hey, what's going to happen next? And it kind of made you excited to see what's going on, in the next trade. I'm kind of busy right now, so I don't think I'll get to reading the next trade anytime soon. But it was nice that you had a completion of the story while still wondering what was going to happen next.
Cool. Mr. Maya.
Yeah, I'm going to give it like a B or a C just because it does leave you on the stuff that had been set up in that last issue. But yeah, it doesn't really leave... It leaves a little bit unresolved for me, but like you said, it seems like the story arc is 2 trades worth.
Yeah. And I'll go with probably also a B as well because I do know that it seems like their story arcs are 2 trades worth. Having read the first 16 issues, they seem to kind of go that way. So which is fine. Mr. Todd.
No, I'll do that. I mean, there's that overarching, but each individual issue is actually fairly episodic in and of itself, which for pausing it is actually a whole lot of fun. So this is a bit like watching Law and Order or Brooklyn Nine-Nine for me. So I give it a B+ because yes, there's a strong arc, but it's episodic enough that I don't care. It was a lot of fun. It was good.
Cool. And Mr. Jason?
I would say B+ as well. Obviously the story continues, which is why I just bought the next 2 trades. But the first 4 at least introduce you to the world well enough that if you didn't want to continue for whatever reason, you could be complete with what's happened.
Writing grade.
And so our next grade will be for writing for, I believe it's Noelle Stevenson and Grace Ellis. What is your grade, Mr. Jason?
It's an A for me. I mean, even if the characters do have a little bit of sameness, it's so delightful. It's so charming. It's got a lot of energy, and it's just it's a fun read. Yeah.
Cool. Mr. Maya.
I'm at an A. It was a lot of fun for me, and just made me feel good while I was reading it.
Yeah. I'm also at an A. I think it's such a fun sort of palate cleanser from day-to-day life that I just have enjoyed the hell out of it, and I've already ordered the next batch of. I've basically ordered everything that's currently out there that I can get my hands on to keep reading this. Mr. Todd.
I give it an A as well. It's just so much fun, and it's charming, and writing for different mediums is all its own thing, and it's separate. And there's really quite the brevity with writing in comics, but with the bubbles and whatnot. And they do such a good job, and yet at the same time, there was a comment made, you could read this out loud and it wouldn't feel so janky. I agree with that as well. But yet it's full. It's few words, but it's still, they're full bites, and it's an enjoyable meal. And what a great tightrope they're walking here. And it's fantastic. So way to go, people. Yeah, it's an A.
Cool. And Mr. Adam.
I'll go with an A as well. Like I mentioned before, this is fun because it's for all ages. No matter adult or your kid, you're going to enjoy this and have fun with it. And again, it's not pandering, so it's not like, oh, we're doing this kids book, so we got to put in poop and fart jokes. I mean, there's the poison ivy jokes, some other things that are kind of fun, but you never feel like it never feels like you're reading a kids book while technically speaking you are. So the only problem I really have with that is, like Maya said, is that at this point in the book, the characters aren't very memorable in the sense that they kind of all do their own thing, but I don't remember their names. But if it gets better later on, then I'll give them credit for that. So.
Yeah, cool.
Art grade.
And for art, for Brooke Allen and Martin Lejo, what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'll go with an A-. Because again, it was colorful, it was fun. It reminded me very much of a Cartoon Network show. So like you mentioned, Phineas and Ferb, which I think is Disney actually. Or like Powerpuff Girls, and I've always been a fan of that art style, and it just fit these characters and their adventures and everything else. Almost to the point where you could hear the theme music and sound effects in your head of what they were going through just based on the visual medium alone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool. Mr. Jason.
I'm going to say A- as well. It's really colorful, fun. There's a lot of energy to how the characters seem to move. And even if the characters haven't been written enough to differentiate themselves, they at least have their own distinct styles, which I really, really liked. Every once in a while, there was a little uncertainty as to what was going on action-wise, but other than that, I think it's great.
Cool. And then Mr. Maya.
I'm at an A. I thought the art style very much matched the tone of the book, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
I agree with Maya. I'm with an A. I think it's a fun pairing of the art style and the writing style, and really enjoyed it. And Mr. Todd.
Yeah, it's an A- as well. I mean, this book just oozes with an energy and a joy. As much as anything, it's the kids are having a joyous time, and we're all along for a ride. And it's what a perfect pairing going through with all this, and in the coloring with it as well. It's fantastic. So yeah, A-. It's great.
Cool.
Final grades.
And then for final overall grades, we will start with Mr. Jason.
It's an easy A for me.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it is, you slut.
Only every day of the week.
Yeah.
I hope someone
got
that joke, by the way, that reference though.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. I'm also going to go with an A on this. I really enjoyed it. I liked it enough. I bought multiple copies and gave them to family and friends for Christmas. So they don't listen to the show because they want to still talk to me.
I love that.
So, Mr. Todd, what's your overall grade?
This is an A. Okay. I mean, it's exactly what it's set out for. It's, if you're trying to find quibbles with it, good luck. I mean, there's some things, I guess, if you really want to go after it, but it's such a great introductory and a primer for what's going on here. It's great fun. So yeah, it's an easy A.
Cool. And Mr. Adam.
So yeah, A as well. It's a great book. I love the fact that, like if we have people with kids, they can sit down with them and enjoy their passion with their kids and hopefully make it like a gateway drug to get them into it. And it's just really entertaining. So I loved it, and I don't know when I'll have a chance to read more, but this is definitely one that I'll put on the list as one to get back to.
And it's also a great one of, I am interested in comics, what should I read? I'm not so sure about Deadpool type of a deal.
Yeah,
you should read Lumberjanes.
I'm actually pitching a panel for FanX for where to start in comics.
Nice.
So we'll see if I don't know if it'll get picked up or not, but if it does, I think this will definitely be on the list of potential good entry gateway drugs. So
I believe at one point they did do a crossover with DC with that Gotham Academy book.
They did. I've been reading the Gotham Academy. That's actually going to be my recommendation for this week. But we'll get into that. Yeah, I haven't read the crossover yet, but I have read the first book of Gotham Academy and enjoyed it. But Mr. Maya, what is your grade?
It's an A.
Nice.
There's nothing else I can say that hasn't been said.
Okay, well, I didn't have to do a lot of math there, even though I was doing math.
Grade point average.
So our overall GPA is at a 4.0. We got a perfect A for this score. Hooray! Point for me, hopefully to make up for Deadpool just a little bit. Hooray!
Not yet.
Trying, guys, I'm trying.
Next week on Funny Books on Firewater.
Cool. Next week, we are going to be doing Rat Queens, which is, I believe, a recommendation from Jason? Or was it from Todd? Jason. Awesome.
It was from me.
Jason Todd. Only comic book nerds will appreciate that joke. I know. Well, Jason, do you want to give us a little preview as to what we're going to be reading next week?
Sure. It's essentially a merry band of female warriors in a sort of Dungeons and Dragons atmosphere, and it's a bit gory, a lot of fun, and hope you like it.
Not nearly as safe for younger readers as this current book was.
No, not quite. No.
No. So,
Bruce agrees.
Yes.
Recommendations.
Well, I guess I'll start out with recommendations, since A, I never do that, and B, we've already mentioned it. There's a book called Gotham Academy, which I've really enjoyed. It's about a bunch of young students at a private school. It's sort of like Harry Potter meets the Batman universe, and Batman sort of shows up, and in the first trade, they go sort of into this abandoned area of the school and find that Killer Croc is hanging out there. So it's sort of like Harry Potter. I guess the best way I can just describe it is it's Harry Potter in the Batman universe. But I've really kind of enjoyed it. It also has a strong female protagonist whose name I'm blanking on right now. It's been just a hair since I've read it. I've just also been reading a bunch of stuff recently. But actually very cool. And they do a crossover with Lumberjanes, so that's why I was going to mention that this week. And but Mr. Maya brought that up before me, but thank you for that, Maya.
I'm glad I could steal your
do you have any recommendations? That's fine. It's all good. Do you have any recommendations, Mr. Maya?
Yeah. As we record this, I saw this 2 days ago, but as you hear this, it's been out for a couple of weeks. But The Sixth Time's the Charm, and go see Bumblebee. It is a lot of fun. It is the Transformers movie that we've deserved all along, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, go see it.
Mr. Jason, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, if you are in the Los Angeles or Burbank area, check out a comic book collectible board game store called the Perky Nerd in Burbank.
Oh, nice.
I like my nerds perky.
Don't we all?
Somebody, I think it might have been Nerdist was posting from there. I think they had to get together there or something
this
like that.
Place looks cool.
Yeah, they have board game nights, I think, on their Wednesdays or Thursdays.
Oh, nice. Also, now that Meltdown doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Mr. Adam, do you have any recommendations?
So I talked about it at the beginning of the episode, and if you haven't seen it yet, go see Into the Spider-Verse. It's easily, as I said, my best movie of the year, the best Spider-Man movie of all time, and it's just absolutely fantastic. And make sure you stay through all the credits, because there's an after-credit stinger, which will have you just howling in laughter. It's wonderful. So please go see that.
I will second that recommendation.
Awesome. And I will go see that tomorrow and second the recommendation as well. And then Mr. Todd.
Yeah, so this author that wrote Lumberjanes also did one that's as acclaimed as Lumberjanes is. She wrote one called Nimona. It's another graphic novel that gets other kind of attention. It's a little bit more adult in nature than Lumberjanes, but it's still really great. My wife read it with her friends in their book club. So, yeah, Nimona.
Oh, cool.
Check it out.
Awesome.
Nimona.
I was waiting for that.
Todd just bumped me.
Cool. So I think that'll do it for this week. Thanks for joining us, and join us next week for Rat Queens as we continue on our month of girls who kick ass. And welcome to the planet little baby
Fibonacci.
So, hi.
And for everyone that
Fibonacci
believes
is-
I actually
You're
named
the
her
reason why.
Fibonacci, is your opinion of me that low that you thought that I would?
Yes.
Are you that gullible?
Yes.
Is that just
Yeah.
kind of that expected because this is the
You.
world we live in?
No, it's because it's you.
It's your track record, Todd.
It's my track record.
It's your track
now I'm
record
trying to
about
decide
pushing
how
buttons.
I feel about that. But that's kind of awesome and disheartening.
You've had a track record of pushing buttons since I've known you.
But that's what's fun. So I really see. And then there was another family member, and you can literally see them writing out, and they're like, "Okay, ... That sounds like I can get the hang of it." You really should read the comments if you see this sort of. It just made me laugh and smile all day long.
So you mean one of the only times you should read the comments?
Yeah, because it's at their expense that I posted that whole thing, so it's good times. So yeah,
Cool.
There you go.
Well, fantastico. So, so thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week for Rat Queens. Bye.
Bye.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.